So with that, we are going into hobBITS track. As I mentioned earlier briefly, these are stories of ordinary people who did extraordinary things. And there are Bitsians, and some of them are non-Bitsians. But either ways, they inspire you with their personal journeys or give you insight into their chosen areas of specialization. So we'll start with hobBITS Solo Talks, which happens in the Audi, followed by a Coffee with hobBITS session. And there is going to be a 30 under 30 Young Achievers hobBITS in DLT 5 at 4. So I would like to invite Mr. V. Ravichandar for the first solo track.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Ravichandar, I think I'm supposed to say the batch 73 mechanical, 73, 78. Thank you. Can we get the screen on, please? I mean, just while I wait for that to come, I am a self-described patron saint of lost causes and civic evangelist. I say self-described because in today's time, I think it's come on. Okay, thank you. So the monikers have been given by myself, and in today's time, the problem with patron saint and evangelist is you're likely that trolls will come after you. Sorry, is it not visible? Okay, I'm sorry. Can you go full screen, please? It's not possible? This is it? Okay, then forget it. I'll just talk about it. I think the screen's not coming too well. I've been part of many alphabet soups. I mean, in my work life, I ran a market research firm. And for the last 2 decades, I have been part of a whole lot of initiatives in the civic space, city space. 4 of them deal with hard infrastructure, the kinds of thing on traffic, garbage, and the like. There was something called the Bangalore Agenda Task Force, BATF 2000 to 2004 that SM Krishna set up. Then there was another one which we went trying to set up, something called the National Urban Mission, became the National Urban Renewal Mission, and then became the JNNURM, and we cannot say what JN stands for these days. Then we had the City Connect Foundation, where one tried to connect business with a whole lot of local bodies, and one managed to get that done in 5 cities. I was part of a report to write about reimagining how to manage Bangalore, and that was the BBMP restructuring, another alphabet soup, the BBMP. And these were the 4 initiatives in the hard infrastructure space. I'll briefly talk about it. And then there was the soft infrastructure that one has been associated with, the Bangalore Literature Festival and the Bangalore International Center. The signs of urban apocalypse is all around us. So whether it is garbage or traffic or water, frothing lakes and the like, especially in mega cities, as this mime show showed, we are not living right. Very quick, the next 3-4 slides are about cribbing as to why it's not working the way it should. The primary thing is cities are not in control of their own destiny. If you look at these 4 pictures, again, Jawaharlal Nehru's picture is missing, but if you add Jawaharlal Nehru to the mix, all these 5 leaders were heads of their municipalities. Rajagopalachari in Salem, Rajendra Prasad in Kanpur, Sardar Patel in Ahmedabad, Bose in Calcutta, and Nehru in Allahabad. They were city leaders before they became national leaders. So you had leaders of that kind. At the bottom are now faceless corporators and the like who are trying to run the city. The laws by which we govern our cities are seriously archaic. Many of them are over 100 years old. You have one law, whether it's a city of 3 lakhs or a city of 10 million. You have the same Town and Country Planning Act, whether it's 7,000 people or again 10 million people. You have something called the Stage Carriage Act, which is nothing else but an excuse to say that only the city transport corporation will be a monopoly on local transport and keep the private players away. The urban periphery is under stress across most cities. So you might have a municipal limit, but just outside the municipal limit, there are village boundaries, and a whole lot of permissions are being given out there, which become legacy problems for the bigger city in the next 5 to 10 years. Citizen participation is almost hardly present out there. Citizens don't have a place at the urban governance table. Karnataka, for example, has a citizen participation law which effectively states that if all the 40,000 people in a ward wanted to spend money on a park, if the corporator said no, then it doesn't happen. So that's the kind of citizen participation law that we have passed. The administrative challenges are huge. We tend to operate in silos designed to withstand nuclear attack. Most things that we require outcomes, integration across agencies, but nothing about our government governance system is designed in a manner that it can actually integrate for outcomes. There are a whole lot of challenges on human resources, political interferences, transference. Then you have the CAG, which has come up with this whole idea of a presumptive loss. So even if you have the odd officer willing to take a brave decision, they think again because somebody will second guess it 5 or 10 years down the line. So there's a whole lot of cholesterol, bad cholesterol, if I can call it, whether it's corruption, commitment, competence, capacity problems, they exist. So that's really my little crib session that I wanted to get out of my system. Now I go to something that what's possible in a pretty dysfunctional environment. The C word is also can be positive. It's about citizens, civil society, corporates, and finally collaboration. My last 2 decades of working with the system, and all of it has been pro bono, it has nothing to do with my work life. The key thing I've realized is we are in a collective mess together. The government, the bureaucracy, citizens, everyone. And I believe that the way out of this mess is to work together, where the private and civil society bring in their expertise to government, and government also is willing to partner with civil society, corporates, and the like. Because unless we work jointly, the skill sets don't lie in either of the silos of either the government or those people outside government. Just a few examples that one was associated with. So back in 2000, we had something called the self-assessment scheme that we came up with to raise property tax. Earlier, we had a pretty corrupt system where the revenue officer used to take a bribe and fix your taxes at very low levels. The system got changed to something where essentially the principle was trust the citizen to tell the truth rather than expect the revenue officer to uncover a lie. So that really was a self-assessment scheme, and in 20 years, there has been a 20x rise in property tax revenue in a city like Bangalore. Of course, part of the growth has come through new construction activity, but a whole lot of it has actually come from reducing discretion in the hands of the officers. Another thing that one was associated, actually another alphabet soup, tender shows, roads for specifications for urban road execution, as we called it. Essentially, when we plan our roads, we are planning it around private transport. So we had this idea back in Bangalore about 12 years ago, saying, can we build roads where the pedestrian is the primary customer and the public transport is the second? I mean, the cyclists, pedestrian and cyclists are the primary customers, followed by public transport. So that led to a certain set of roads which have much wider footpaths, pedestrians cross at grade, and essentially, you're trying to restore this imbalance that has happened where we tend to pour asphalt just about any place that you can find and think that you can solve the private motor vehicle problem. But the reality is, sans walking, sans public transport, no city in this country is ever going to be free of traffic hassles. Another initiative was around garbage. So essentially, we need a new hum do, hamare do. Earlier it was the population control, but now it needs to be segregation at source, the wet and dry waste. And we need to do more of local area processing, what I call as what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. For example, if you take again a city like Bangalore, it is inherently morally wrong that a city of 10 million sends its waste to a landfill which impacts the water bodies and the groundwater of a village of 5,000 on the outskirts. It's absolutely wrong, and we need to be able to find solutions where we segregate at source and manage the waste locally. The other thing that we need as we go about to fix our cities is, frankly, we need simple visions. For example, this is how actually Singapore the rivers of Singapore were extremely toxic if you go back 35, 40 years ago. And if you can just get one simple thing which you have as a goal. For example, we have Bellandur Lake which froths today. If we say that one day we will swim in our lakes as a goal for the city, then all decisions that you take, so whether it be transportation decisions, decisions on underground drainage, construction, whatever, you measure it saying, does it help a person swim in the lake or does it not? If it helps, go ahead. If it doesn't, drop it. So that's the kind of thing that we require, and we need to be a lot more ruthless in terms of what we allow and what we don't allow. I mean, even if you, for example, take public spaces, and again, I'm giving you a lot of Bangalore statistics because that's where I'm based. You know, everybody believes master plan is the way forward. We did our first master plan in 1985 for 1995. Bangalore had 25% open spaces. The latest master plan, which is under construction for 2031, Bangalore's open spaces is 4%. So from 25% open spaces, we have come down to 4% open space, and people still believe that master plan is the way to fix a city. Two other quick initiatives that one was involved in is that as one worked with the system, and the reason I call myself patron saint for lost causes, is extremely difficult and to get something done in the public space. And even incremental movements give you a lot of joy. Then one said, look, can we do something for the soft infrastructure, taking off from that public space statistic that I mentioned? So we run the Bangalore Literature Festival for the last 8 years. It's India's largest community-run festival. There is no corporate, there is no logo, no brand. Individuals give money. And the festival we had last year, about 25,000 people turned up over 2 days. And it's almost like, I mean, I know hobBITS had, I presume even Goa has Oasis. So it's a kind of Oasis on steroids with individual funding. The last initiative which I'm currently associated with is something called the Bangalore International Center, modeled along the lines of the IIC and other places. Essentially, Bangalore International Center is a place for informed conversation, arts and culture. What makes it unique is it's a member and donor-enabled public institution. Members and donors have given in money to make this institution possible. It's a 50,000 square feet construction. We do about 25 events a month, which covers the gamut of talks, panel discussions, plays, music, movies, the works. But all of them are free to Bangaloreans, and it doesn't matter whether you're a member or a non-member. We invite people to come and engage with these issues. We believe that in this polarized world, we need to create these kind of safe spaces and safe harbors for debates and discussions in a civilized manner. So that really is the idea of the Bangalore International Center, which brings me to the end of my presentation, with 2 or 3 key takeaways. Working with the system, what I've realized is, you might know the solution, you know that the way to fly north is to fly directly north. But in the real world, you have to be ready to fly north by northeast or north by northwest to get to your destination, because the fastest route often doesn't automatically work easily. The other thing, there was a similar variation. Gandhiji actually said, be the change you want to see. But given that we Indians, Amartya Sen, we are the argumentative Indian, I believe we are the opinionated Indian. So if we could be the change that we want others to be, there's a greater chance that that change might happen. So the patron saint of lost causes has now, over 2 decades, become the patron saint for free causes, freely working with government, doing Bangalore Lit Fest and Bangalore International Center, where everything is free. So I've now become a believer in free causes. Thank you. If there are any questions, I think I have about 2 or 3 minutes, and then I need to call Madhavan up. I think Madhavan, where's? We can take questions at the end if required.